so now we have another question that is based on quadratic inequalities again. So this is just a bit of a variation. So in this case we have open bracket x minus 1 all squared, then we have minus 9 that is greater or equals to 0, right? So now when you are working with this is just one of those cases. In this case we want to factorize, but then now you have to recognize that you have a difference of two squares. How is that true? We have this part that is squared, and then again we have minus here as a sign. We have 9 here. That 9, remember that 9 here can be written as what? As 3 squared. So 9 is a perfect square. So we have a minus, we have a square, we have a square. So remember, a minus is a difference, so we are having a difference of two squares. So now if we were to look at it this way, it's more like we have a squared minus b squared in this part. So remember, if I have a squared minus b squared, what is this going to be equals to? This is a square, this is a square. I'm trying to get a difference of two squares. There's a way in which we factorize this, remember. So now we are going to have what? We are going to have a in this first bracket, then a on the other bracket, then I'm going to have b this bracket, and then b on the other bracket. Remember, I'm factorizing what? A difference of two squares. So I'm going to have a plus here, then I'm going to have a minus here, or I'm going to have a minus, then I'm going to have a plus on the other bracket. Remember, we say 9 it's a perfect square because it can be written as 3 squared. Now we have x minus 1. So our x minus 1 in this case, it's our a. So I'm just going to use square bracket here, right? So I'm going to have our a, and then I'm going to have our b, right? Okay, so now I'm going to have our a. Remember, our a is x minus 1, so I have x minus 1 here, I have x minus 1 here, right? And then our b, remember our b is that minus 9. Then our minus 9, remember, it can be written as 3 squared. So I'm just going to use the 3. So I'm just going to have minus 3 here. Then I'm going to have a plus 3 here. Remember, plus minus here, just like that. So now when you move forward in this case, I'm just now going to use the normal bracket. So I just want to simplify this part. Minus 1 minus 3, this is going to be minus 4. So it means that on the first bracket you are going to have x minus 4, while on the second bracket you are going to have x plus what? Remember, negative 1 plus 3, this is going to be 2, right? Remember, don't forget the inequality sign there. You have greater than or equals to 0. I still have greater than or equals to 0 here. All right, so now moving forward, now I have factorized. Remember the steps, guys. You simplify, you factorize, you write in standard form there, right? So remember, simplify so that you write this in standard form by moving all the terms to one side of the inequality. So you write this in standard form, then you factorize. So now we have finally factorized our expression here. So now in this case we have to move forward. After factorizing, remember, what is the next step? It is finding the critical values. And now when you find the critical value from the first bracket here, it is actually going to be 4. And then our second critical value here is going to be negative 2. So we have those two critical values there. Remember, after finding our critical values, now we are going to draw our number line, right? Draw our number line. We start with the lowest critical value. In this case, it's negative 2. Then with the largest one, which is 4, right? So by doing this, now we are now going to refer back to the coefficient of x squared. In this case, because at the top it's not that simplified, I'm going to go back into the brackets. Remember, I want to multiply this x and this x so that I understand when I multiply those x's, am I going to get a negative x squared or a positive x squared? So remember, x times x is going to be positive x squared. So it means that now the value of a is greater than 0. So when the value of a is greater than 0, the shape is going to be concave up. So when A is positive, then I'm going to have what? A concave up. Then I'm going to draw that graph like this. Then it's a concave up. Right, we do this because of this a squared. Remember, x here and x here, this is positive x squared. So now moving on to the next part, we have now drawn this. Remember, we have greater or equals to 0. Remember, greater, again greater, this is positive, but then I'm referring to the positive y values again. Where do you get positive y values? I'm going to get positive y values where? Above, right? So this is above, the x axis, right? So now, which x values, right? For which x values am I going to have a positive y value? This x value here is going to give me positive y value. This one gives me a positive y value. All of these x values this side are going to give me positive y value. Again, which side? Again, this side, this one gives me a positive y value, and all the other x values this side. So those are my solutions, right? Remember, this side, when it comes to this side, these x values, they are the ones that are lesser than -2, while these x values this side, these are the x values that are greater than 4, right? But then remember, there's an equal sign there. There's an equal sign, so it means that 0 is also included, right? So you are going to say equals to here, then equals to here, right? So those are our solution. But then to finally write it correctly, I'm just going to say that this is when x is lesser than or equals to -2, or then we are going to have x that is greater or equals to 4. Right, and then finally for the other notation, then you're going to have what? X is an element of real numbers from -infinity to -2. And then remember, we have a -2, but we have a lesser than or equals to, then it means that we introduce the square bracket. Then we say union, again greater or equals to 4 means that we include the 4, we use a square bracket, we say 4 up until positive infinity, right? So remember, next to infinity we use this normal bracket here. So that is it, guys. So please take note of this, and then remember, there is another way in which you could have done this. You would just simplify the whole of this expression. You would simplify all of this expression, then it would be in standard form. But when you factorize that expression after simplifying it and writing it in standard form, then when you factorize it, it's still going to be exactly the same as this, right? So it was not going to be shorter, or it was not going to be longer. You'd have the same amount of steps as you had here. It's just that the one that you see, or the one that you are going to be comfortable with, then you are just going to use that.